My mom refuses to celebrate Halloween. Now I know why. Beware of false prophecies who come to you in sheep's clothing, but inwardly are ravenous wolves. By Matthew at 7:15. I think a lot about that saying a lot. Around this time of the year, Halloween used to be one of my favorite holidays. Scary stories, orange and yellow leaves, purple lights, and a hot apple cider, candy and chilling winds, jack-o'-lanterns, and pumpkin spice everything. It's the one time of the year you can dress up and hide who you are underneath masks and makeup, be whatever you want, and nobody knows who you are. I loved Halloween since I was a kid. As far back as I can remember, my dad always made such a big deal about the holiday. My mother, not so much. They divorced when I was young, and I've always lived between two households. Typically, I'd be with my dad during the weekends and with my mom's during the weekdays. I'd always pray that Halloween would fall on a weekend so I could be with my dad when it happened. He'd always invite my friends over for a big Halloween party. He'd dress up in a scary costume, hand out fun treats, and take me trick-or-treating. My mom, on the other hand, well, she despised the holiday. She was very religious. She always read the Bible, lecturing me about this and that. She got it in her head that Halloween is a quote-unquote evil, end of quote, holiday. She won't have anything to do with it, even so much as a harvest festival altar, which some of our local churches around us have holded. In fact, she doesn't even go to the churches in our town, and we have a ton of them. She never puts up jack-o'-lanterns, and not even a hint of fall decoration. Not even a quote-unquote be thankful, end of quotes, sign for the autumn season or Thanksgiving. My mom is very nice, at least enough. She's never been too pushy about her beliefs on me. In fact, she celebrates every other holiday just fine. Christmas, Thanksgiving. She'll even have a beer or two on St. Patrick's Day. But she has absolutely never budged when it came to Halloween. In fact, she'd make me go to bed really early on Halloween every time I happened to be with her. We've gotten into some nasty fights over it. I'd be crying and begging her to let me stay up and go trick-or-treating, but she always responded that Halloween was evil, and that in her house she respected the Lord, that she'd tell me I would have to get used to it. I once told her I hated her because of it and stormed off to my room, slamming the door. I regretted doing that now. I know now she was only trying to protect me. My mom lives several miles away from my dad in a small rural town and about 3,000 people living there. My dad lives in the city, so when I had Halloween at his place, I'd bring back a huge hold of candy because we had so many neighbors. Everyone got into the Halloween spirit on Dad's street. In Mom's neighborhood, everyone there did so too. So the stark difference between my mom in the town and my mom and my dad has always been very apparent to me. And up until last year, I had never understood why my mother was such a prude about not having Halloween. When I mentioned it to my dad, he always said he would ask my mom, really, and he would always say, quote unquote, your mom has to do things her way, and I'll think things my way. You just have to respect her wishes, buddy. End of quotes. If you look at the calendar, you notice Halloween falls on weekdays, way more than it falls on weekends. So sadly, I hadn't had the experience of being with my dad on Halloween as much as I'd like. I always noticed how much my mom seemed to dread the holiday. She'd be extra into her Bible, praying. Sometimes she'd come up to me and put her hand on me, closing her eyes in prayer, begging God to protect me. Halloween has always been the same at her house. We'd eat dinner around 4 p.m. She'd usher me off to bed. She wouldn't tolerate me stepping out of my room, and she'd yell at me to sleep if she heard me staying up. I'd always lay in bed unhappily and flustered, and I'd hear right outside my door saying the same prayers over and over again. You might be asking why I didn't sneak out. Well, I would have, except my mom always had an odd habit of boarding up all the windows and even our front and back doors. She'd put up a big sign on the front door that said, "Trick-or-treaters not welcome at this house. We serve Jesus." She'd hang up a cross and sprinkle the whole house with holy water. Even line the front entrance with salt. I always figured my mom was extra paranoid about things, or had gotten into her head for some telesis that she needed to be extra scared of spirits and whatnot on Halloween. I never stay up very late on Halloween night at my mom's house with nothing to do but lay in bed, as she always took all my toys and devices away. I usually fell asleep surprisingly easy. I'd dream about what Halloween could have been and tried to get over it the next morning on November the 1st. It wasn't until last year I finally found out why my mom is so scared of Halloween. Last year, Halloween fell on Monday. That year was especially hard for me to accept that I'd be spending yet another fun Halloween night sleeping in early, especially since the year before Halloween had fallen on Sunday and my dad had pulled out all the stops. I dreaded having to spend another year in bed early when the last 2 years I had been spoiled with Halloween fun. This year was a bit different. I was now 17, and I thought I could get away with staying up a bit longer, and at the very least being allowed to watch a scary movie. I got to my mom's house early that day, as my dad had gotten me out of high school early. When I arrived to the house, it was dabbed and normal. No decor, nothing except for wooden beams and pipes, ready which were nailed up. I hugged my dad goodbye, and he told me to behave myself, and I was just gonna have to do as I always did, as my mom said. However it upset me, or however upset or unhappy it made me, great. Another Halloween's fun, enjoyableness wasted. I went up the steps to our house, said hi to my mom, and hugged her. I asked her if this year could be different, if maybe I could stay up and watch scary movies, maybe have some candy. She flat out refused. Absolutely not. Halloween is an evil holiday. You will not have anything to do with it in my house. God help me. I roared in interrogation. So unfair. I stumbled inside. You're so fucking ridiculous, Mom. I shouted out. I heard her yell about taking the Lord's name in vain. I didn't care. I was so sick of her religious strictness. I needed to get out of this house for a bit. I walked up the porch where she was standing, apologized for cursing, and asked if I could head out to the store in town for some snacks before we had out early dinner and early bedtime. She sighed. Son, I know you don't understand why I do these things. I know Halloween means so much to you, but it's evil, son. The devil hides in fun things. Halloween is evil. I wish I could get you to understand. She said it would be okay, but to be home no later than 3 p.m. She was dead serious. I didn't want to find out the fit my mom would have if I stepped out of her curfew. I walked off towards the main area of town with all the small businesses. My mom luckily didn't live too far from the general store, only 4 or 5 blocks away. I got to the store and I was looking for some hot Cheetos when a priest came up to me. I glanced over and said hello to him. Hi there. Need anything? I asked. I'm sorry to bother you. I didn't notice you were dressed up, the priest said, his hands clapped in a precious manner. I was supposing perhaps you weren't participating in any of the festivals this evening. I was wondering if perhaps you would like to attend my church's festival harvest party. It'd be like candy and even a costume party. I already knew what my mom would say if I asked, so I gently sighed and responded, "It's really nice of you, but I actually have another plans tonight. Sadly, I'm sorry." The priest smiled and said that it was quite all right. He bid me goodbye and told me he wished the Lord would bless me and walked off. I took my chips to the register, walked back home, and sulked. My mom wouldn't have allowed it. Even if it was a church, she'd say it was another form of Halloween and that it was evil and that it was out of the question. I couldn't wait to turn 18 and be out of it and make it my own way. Make my own plans, celebrate Halloween my way, the way I wanted. I just didn't understand. To me, Halloween wasn't evil or even unchristian, for the matter. Sure, it dealt with death and ghosts and ghouls, but it wasn't as bad as she thought it was. It was mostly about fun for me, costume, candy, and even some sexy times, or partying. It wasn't about anything bad. In some ways, Halloween helped us laugh at death. So, one time of the year, death wasn't so scary, so horrible. Wasn't there a saying my mom once told me something about, quote unquote, "Oh death, where is your victory? Oh death, where is your sting?" End of quotes. If anything, Halloween perhaps could help Christians live out that reality, but my mom would never understand that.